Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 2025-26 Teens Behind the Scenes program. I am Jared Strange, Director of Education and Community Programs at the National Theater Foundation. I'm here with our wonderful TBTS Dramaturgs Lindsey R. Barr and Leayne C. Dempsey. We are trying something new this season with a large unified curriculum that's going to draw your attention to some key themes and aspects of professional theater. And I wanted to start us off with a conversation among the three of us about what dramaturgy entails and what we really want you to take away from this program.
Dramaturgs do a lot, right? I think it depends on the process. It depends on the context. Dramaturgs are people who think critically about the text of a piece and make sense of it, whether that's working with a new playwright to figure out what the play wants to be, whether that's working in production, providing historical context, or providing feedback to the director on staging, whatever that process looks like. It's someone who's really interested in investigating and moving the play or production process toward what it wants to be in whatever iteration that makes sense.
Lindsey, you just said figure out what the play wants to be. And I always say, too, it's like trying to get the actual world of the play that's inside the playwright's head to manifest itself outward.
The dramaturg can be thought of as the contextualizer. When you're looking at the play, like, what is the context that created this play? Who is the writer? What was going on in their world? The world that they've created in the play, what is that context? What do people need to know? Designers, actors, directors.
Yeah, we do a lot, guys.
We do a lot. It's a great little tag subtitle for dramaturgs. We do a lot.
There's a really wonderful text called The Empty Space, written by Peter Brook. And Peter Brook talks about, later on in the text, he talks about something, he calls it the acid test, where it's like when a show ends and everything else is kind of burned away, what is the one thing that still remains? And so I like students to approach it in that way, in the sense of taking in the piece. And then at the end, what is the thing that's remaining? And then really investigating why. Why is that the thing that created an impression on your heart? Because there's different things and and just like we just were talking about, we all come with different perspectives of the show and different passions. And I think that's really important with this, everyone who's listening now, is that some of you are really interested in design and some of you are interested in the story and some of them are interested in performance and the lights and the sounds and the music. And so just being able to sit there and ask that question of like, what is really sticking with me? And then investigating the why of that, I think is really, really useful for someone who is just investigating the performance theater and maybe potentially pursuing this industry in the future.
Perhaps the thing that's speaking to me most immediately, because I'm literally in the middle of a rehearsal process and the show opens in 13 days. So we're really in the moment where rubber meets the road, the show's going up, we're making decisions. And I think one of the things is that I would want people to know is that, one, there's so many ways to be involved in theater. I mean, we're talking to you as dramaturgs, which is not something that people often mention when we're thinking about theater, but that it takes so many people with so many incredible skill sets that perhaps you don't have to put on a show, and to really explore that. But I think more importantly, what I want people to know is to honor the expertise that it takes to put a show on. There's a space for you. Maybe that's marketing, maybe that's fundraising, right? But there is a space because it takes so many more people than even are listed in the playbill to make a one piece of theater happen.
Theater is worldwide. I think that, when we start to get engaged with theater, it's usually local. It's something that is really close in proximity. It's something that is connected to even the context that we live in, usually. And then we get kind of expand out. And then obviously being in the US, we have these really hotspot theater spots, DC being one of them. But I would also encourage everyone to start to explore that there are many other theater hotspots around the world.
I would second all of that. I would say more specifically to the shows you would see at the National, one thing I really wish we could show students is how these shows literally come to us, get unpacked, put on the stage, and then packed back up and taken. And something that I think we're going to get into in the curriculum for those of you who will be joining us in the program is all the different types of theater there are out there, speaking again about that broad perspective. And in the touring model, it truly is an incredible feat of logistics because everything that you see on stage has to be packed up, put into semi-trucks, and then moved hundreds of miles away for the following week. And so if you were to come to the National during a show and go through our stage door, you would see all these boxes that are lined up full of walkie-talkies and equipment and costume pieces. There's more of them in the backstage area of the building with more costumes, more props, more sets. It all has to be portable and transportable.
You already are a theater maker. If you love theater, if you're engaged in it already at school, you are a theater maker. And now you're just finding the place where you're going to grow.
I really appreciate that Leanne and I get to be in the same conversation because Leanne prepares them for college and then I teach them at college. So it's like two sides of the same coin. And so I would say like maintain curiosity, and be like very generous. Those are the things that I think make excellent theater artists.
Every experience that you have, whether you go into a career in theater or not, can accumulate into expertise, into things to draw from creatively, into ways to be smarter, more generous, more engaged. Use it all. It can all be applied to whatever you're going to be doing in the next phase of your life. And again, generosity and being collegial to work with goes a long way. All right. Thank you so much, Lindsey and Leanne. This was a great conversation. And we hope to see a lot of you at the National Theater very soon. Yeah. Bye.
Bye, guys.